Tonight's guest has made schools a priority with the highly acclaimed ABC special, I Am Your Child. He's directed such classic films as This Is Spinal Tap, When Harry Met Sally, and A Few Good Men. Rob Reiner, ladies and gentlemen, Rob.
How are you, sir? Nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you. How are you?
Scoured the countryside to look to somebody to talk about education, and I found Meathead.
There you go. There you go. The best person, though, for the job.
Yeah.
I'm about to tell you some stuff, Dennis.
Oh, I know. You told me we flew back from Aspen one day, and you were telling me about this stuff.
Well,
I thought you'd make a good case.
Yeah, you said something interesting in your opening monologue, which actually, there wasn't actually a lot of humor around this particular item, which I was glad, because you said something about the parents and what parents need to be doing, because the school system is not just made up of teachers. It's made up of children. And the way in which a school system can lift itself up is by the dynamic of the interrelationship between the students and the teachers. So you can't just lay the blame at the feet of the teachers, because they have to teach children. And the way that, you know, children enter school is to me the key to this, to the whole public education system. If, you know, I mean, if you remember about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years ago, President Clinton handed down his goals 2000, and the first goal was every child must enter school with a readiness to learn. Well, that's a very good goal. I mean, if we can achieve that goal, we won't have to worry about, you know, math scores and reading scores and learning science and history. If you're ready to learn, you will learn, assuming that we have teachers that are capable of teaching, and I believe that we have wonderful teachers. Obviously, they're not paid enough, and they need to be paid a lot more to attract, you know, even more teachers, but they're capable to teach, but they don't have the students to teach because they're not ready to learn. Well, how do you have a child enter school to ready to learn? I mean, that's the key.
I'm obsolete.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, you can jump in there anytime you want.
No, I'm kidding you. I was just going to ask you that, though.
No, I mean, just, well, there you go. Now, you put that goal up there and you just say, okay, every child must enter school with a readiness to learn. What does that mean?
I mean, Clinton wanted to be reelected.
What do you do? I mean, you don't give your children flashcards or try to teach them quantum mechanics before they enter school, but there are things you can do, and what we've discovered.
Okay, tick off 3 of them.
All right, I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, what we've discovered, and the basis of this early childhood development campaign that I've launched called I Am Your Child, which focuses in on the first 3 years of life and how critical those first 3 years are. And we now know, science is now telling us very clearly through all the new research in brain development, that what happens to a child, the things that a child is exposed to, the experiences he has intellectually, physically, and emotionally in the first 3 years is critical in terms of how that child will function later on as an adult. And a child's brain grows to 90% of its adult size in the first 3 years.
And a lot of people stop right there.
Yeah. Yes. And what we know is that the brain, although there is a genetic map made up for each brain, the brain is organizing itself in an alarming rate in the first 3 years. How it's putting together the neurons, the pathways that those neurons are connecting with. And if you talk to your child, read to your child, sing to your child, physically hold your child and nurture him in a warm, loving, responsive way in the first 3 years, you will be building those brain connections, and you will be allowing him to make attachments to other people. How you attach to your child in the first 3 years is going to set in motion how he will attach later on in life. How he will attach to his teachers in school, his schoolmates, the opposite sex later on in life, his co-workers, and so on. So we have to if we really want to change the education system, we must make an investment in the first 3 years of life.
Now look how fired up you are about this. Now what did you feel?
Let him applaud a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. What did you get when you were a kid in the first 3 years? Did you get enough?
I think I got enough.
And what about in 1978?
No, they slacked off a little bit there. They went down there. No, I think I did get enough.
Why are you so fervent? What makes you burn to do this so much?
Because, you know, I've been civic-minded, you know, my whole life. I've been politically active my whole life. And almost 20 years ago, I went through my own problems and my own analysis, and it became very clear to me that what I experienced in my first 2 or 3 years was critical in how I functioned later on as an adult. And I just figured that this is not unique to me. This is something everybody experiences. Once I had that understanding and that deep awareness, I really didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know if this was something that I just experienced and it wasn't backed up by science. I also didn't have the wherewithal. I didn't have the power base from which to work. Once I became successful and had an opportunity to reach out to the powers that be, I started making calls and talking to people and came across the Carnegie Corporation's Starting Points report, which came out about 3 years ago, which basically said in no uncertain terms everything that I had been thinking for 20 years, and that there was hard scientific evidence to back up everything that I had been thinking. I said, okay, well, here's something that, and I discovered that at that point, that scientific evidence had been around for 15 years, and nobody knew about it. I said, well, I'm a communicator. What I do is I put on shows. I got ABC to commit to an hour special. I got Tom Hanks, the president, the First Lady. I got Colin Powell, Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Roseanne, Rosie O'Donnell. I got all these people to put on a show. And then I created this campaign, which, you know, and I'm going to give you an 8888 number. Can I throw an 888 number out?
Yeah, go ahead, Rob. Fire it out here.
I hope I remember it. Write this down because it's 1-888-447-3400. And if you call that number, you can get, there's parenting brochures, there's community mobilization brochures, what you can be doing in your community. There's also a brand new parenting video that Johnson & Johnson funded, which is sensational. It talks specifically to new parents and what they can do with what they should be doing with their children in the first 3 years. And we also have a CD-ROM that IBM funded that also talks about that, and a website, www.iamyourchild.org. And we basically are working with organizations all over the country. We're working with the National Governors Association to start creating partnerships between state governments and big business to make investments in communities around early childhood development. So that's the thrust right now. And
the game is afoot right now.
Yes, the game is afoot, and it's important to know that this will improve education, but it's not just about education. This is also about reducing crime, teen pregnancy, drug abuse, child abuse, welfare dependency. Virtually every societal ill can be really, tracked back to the first 3 years of life. So we have to make that investment. Science is now very clearly showing us the way, and if we're not going to take that path, then we're fools. We're fools.
When I was 2.5, my friends and I robbed the bank. I still want to do it. We've got a phone call for you. Line 5, okay. Kim from Schenectady, New York. Kim?
Hi, Dennis. Hi, Rob.
How are you?
If you were in charge of education in this country, what would you address that no one else seems to be able to? Well, such as violence or pregnancy or goals that children should have.
Got another phone call for you, Rob.
If you want, I can answer that question.
Go ahead, Robba.
I can answer that question.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I wasn't in school today. They gave the answer to that. I was skipping.
All roads lead to Rome. And the fact of the matter is, the first call I made when I started being interested in this, I called Tipper Gore because I heard she was interested in men. Don't ask me why. I read that. No, I read that.
Did you call her Tipper?
Yes, because what else do you call her?
I
Mrs. Gore.
I'd have to call her Leslie Gore. I could not call her.
Yeah.
Call her
it's her vice presidency, and she'll cry if she wants to. That's a really obscure reference there. Leslie Gore. You see, I worked that in. People don't know who Leslie Gore is.
I was on that like Rodman on the offensive glass. Go ahead.
Okay. Tipper Gore, I had read, was interested in mental health issues, so I called her up. Well, it's true. She has been very active in it. I called her up and I met with her, and she showed me that. I met with a number of the members of the Department of Education. She showed me the goals 2000. The first goal of which was every child must enter school with a readiness to learn, and then it had all these other goals. And I said, well, it seems to me if you could reach that first goal, all these other goals would kind of fall in line. So to answer this lady's question, the way to, the thing that you want to do is have children enter school with a readiness to learn. Then you will solve what are seemingly the big problems in the education system right now.
Well, Robbo, usually I try to, you know what, your fervency kept me from even...
It bowled you over.
I try to poke fun at things, but I can't poke fun. You're on the right track here. Rob Reiner, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around, Robbo.